know you would like to some kind of way extract something out of this bottle, all right, that's not there. It's not there. You all speculate and create things, and then you want people to respond to it. So you can ask the bottle, but don't ask me.
Hey, what's up? It's me over here. That's him over there. It's Ask the Bottle, an SEC Sadcast. Welcome.
That was inspiring.
Wake me up, Mitch. Wake me up inside. I can't wake up, Mitch. Wake me up inside. Save me.
Do you want me to introduce this week's show? Are you feeling up to it?
I'm good. Now, welcome to Ask the Bottle, an SEC Fancast.
There he is.
My name is Clint Childers. That man over there is Mitch Davis, the Georgia Peach.
Hey there, guys.
Write to us at askthebottlecast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Bottlecast. Always tweet at us. Listen and subscribe to us on iTunes and SoundCloud. Please leave us a rating. You wonderful, wonderful listeners out there. We would love you.
Yeah.
Mitch, why don't you go ahead and drop the Tennessee news bomb on us to start out this sadcast? Why don't you?
Yeah. So some semi-breaking news. Tennessee, Butch Jones rolling with Jarrett Guarantano, the redshirt freshman at quarterback against South Carolina this week, benching Quentin Dormady after some less than inspiring starts. Yeah, I gotta say, I don't like the move personally. I mean, I'm sure there's varied opinions on it, but this seems like my seat is so hot, let me give someone else some heat kind of move.
Well, and there's no doubt he is under, you said intense pressure right now. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with you. We've talked about with the whole Florida thing, just like you got to stick with the guy. But not only did he bench him, Mitch, it is reported that he has actually quit the team, Dormady.
I did not know that. That's wow.
He has quit the team as of actually just an hour ago. I saw online. It's 2:32 p.m. on October the 10th. So this is like about 1:30 in the afternoon that this happened. The best bye week Tennessee's ever had, according to Butch Jones.
That is wild to me. So it's not so much. So it sounds like the sequence of events was Dormady gets benched, quits. Am I correct?
You're absolutely right.
So as a result of being benched, if Tennessee needs another sign that they're still not in the right place coaching wise, I think that's it. Because if you've got a team where quitting is that simple, then hey, you don't have the right thing going on. That's insane to me. I think they're going to struggle immensely from here on out. Look for South Carolina to get quite a win this week, unless Guarantano is great. I mean, you recruit the guy for a reason. Who knows? But that's trouble.
Well, yeah. Last year they had Jalen Hurd drop.
Yep.
They had an offensive guard quit earlier this year. I think that might have been more of just like, I'm not getting a lot of playing time. I kind of need to just go. He's like a freshman. He's like, I need to go somewhere else where I can get some playing time. I don't know if that one's so much on Butch Jones. This one is definitely on Butch Jones.
Yeah, you throw the guy out there. He makes some mistakes. He makes some good plays. He's got some talent, but I'll be curious. I think if he ends up somewhere else or not. But if he does end up somewhere else, I think it kind of, seeing how he does will kind of tell how bad the problems were with coaching. But, if you've got a kid that's going to quit, just because you decided to bench him, then that's a serious red flag among a lot of other really prevalent red flags in Knoxville right now with that program. So, yeah, man, I'm surprised. Honestly, probably a good move on Dormady's part. It sounds like he just, I don't know. You never want to see a guy quit, and you wonder why, but that's crazy to me.
Yeah, he was just the first one off the side of the Titanic, I think. Thoughts and prayers to Vols Nation. It's not looking good right now. Well, let's just move on from that bomb, I guess. Other than that, nothing really changes huge as far as football-wise in the SEC. Other than A&M kind of giving Alabama a scare, Florida shot themselves in the foot on a PAT against LSU. You got any just first impressions about Week 6?
Basically that. I mean, I had said that I thought A&M was going to put up some points, but to get it all the way down to basically a 1-score 8-point game against Bama, I think that is huge. I really like the way A&M is playing right now. As far as that LSU Florida game, I'm going to unpack that one, but no, man, it was more the same. I definitely do want to shout out from the get-go to Kentucky, who now only has 1 loss on the season, so that was kind of a big thing.
Yeah, a 5-1 Kentucky.
Yeah, man. So no, it was a crazy week. There's a lot to unpack here, so I'm excited to get into it.
I just had a random thought. I was just pulling up some stats last second as we get started here. ESPN, you gotta fix that autoplay video on your freaking box scores, man. That autoplay video is so. I pulled it up and it just blasted my headphones out. You gotta quit that, man. So bad. That's just a random thought I had.
Yeah, like I get it on the summary window, but on the box score window, it's kind of weird because it's in that tiny little video window.
Yeah, it's like the tiniest little. It's like who even? Okay. Well, before we drop into the SEC, let's spend. We've been spending a lot of times on Nationwide. Sorry, that was my cat screaming. We've been spending a lot of time on Nationwide games. Let's kind of talk about them a little bit, but let's kind of get to the SEC a little bit quicker.
This first one's a big one.
It is a very big one. Screw you, Bobby Petrino.
Wolfpack.
Yeah, number 17 Louisville falls to number 24 NC State, 39-25. Mitch, North Carolina State's really good.
Ryan Finley, man. Woo!
367 yards. He averaged over 11 yards per pass attempt.
Man.
You can't ask for any more than that.
First down per attempt. Yeah, that's fine with me.
NC State is the only team, in my opinion, that looks to give Clemson a run for their money. Mitch, who wins the NC State-Clemson game?
At this point, I'm going to go Clemson, but that doesn't take anything away from the fact that I am ecstatic about that game. I think it's going to be really fun.
Game day, if you don't go to that game, I don't know. I don't know what you're doing. Let's keep it locked right in the ACC, shall we? Number 13.
Another thriller.
Yeah. Your old coach, actually. Number 13, Miami, wins over a pretty bad Florida State team, 24-20 with a last-second touchdown pass. Mark Richt.
That was unbelievable.
Yeah, Mark Richt is doing really well at Miami right now.
Yeah, I think that sort of the hallmark for him is he's one of those guys that's just extremely likable, puts the kids first in everything and everybody. You can tell, to me, this game, yeah, Florida State was banged up, but they played well. And, I mean, this was a heck of a game all the way through. But I just think, you just saw a little bit more of that gut from those Miami players playing for Richt. And, they of course, they're undefeated and they're number 13. So, they got some more to play for. But, man, I mean, what a performance. It's nice to see, I felt like Richt needed a new start. I was one of those on that side that thought, hey, I get it. Maybe it's time for a change. Best of luck. And I'm glad it's working out thus far.
Yeah, Florida State, on the other hand, is really missing DeAndre Francois. James Blackman threw 2 touchdowns, but he also threw 2 really costly interceptions. It's just the freshman quarterback play, man. Yeah,
you see talent, but, he's going to keep making those mistakes, and those just aren't going to win games in close ones like this.
Yeah, hopefully Jimbo can right the ship, or they might have their worst season in years, especially with how loaded that division is looking right now.
Oh, no doubt.
All right, well, let's move on to the Big Ten.
I did want to real quick just point out that after that Miami touchdown, Florida State kicked off, and Florida State, the guy, I forget who it was, he returned it all the way to the 50, and he didn't lateral it. He just went down. He had a guy on the right and a blocker, and he just went down. I don't get it. Anyway, I have not forgotten about it. Don't understand it. We saw Miami with a crazy lateral kick return to win a game last year. Don't understand why he didn't lateral it. Not a big deal, but I was just like, come on, man. You guys gotta
at least
they just gotta play with some more,
At least give yourself a chance.
Yeah, something. Anything. Anyway, on to Michigan State. I was just didn't get that.
Yeah, well, thanks for the segue. Michigan State, beats number 7 Michigan in the Big House 14-10. This game was fugly.
It was messy, for sure.
Messy as Paul Bunyan's chest hair. Rain was coming down super hard in the fourth quarter. Michigan turned the ball over 5 times. 5.
Oof.
But didn't really matter, honestly, in my opinion. I mean, with the score 14-10, that's not. I mean, no one's really capitalizing on those turnovers.
Right. Yeah.
Michigan led the day, 300 yards of offense. That's not a lot. Backup Michigan QB John O'Corn is no good. 16 of 35. He threw no touchdowns and 3 interceptions.
Wow.
Yep. I got a couple of little stat comparisons for you, Mitch. You know I love my stat comparisons.
Oh, yeah.
From legendary coach Brady Hoke at Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, current Michigan coach. Through 5 games in year 3 at Michigan, Hoke is 2 for 2, or 2 and 2, against Michigan State and Ohio State with 1 BCS Bowl win and a 24-7 overall record. Through 5 games in year 3 at Michigan, Jim Harbaugh is 1 and 4 against Michigan State and Ohio State with no college football playoff wins and a 24-7 record.
So you're going from, all right, okay, pretty good, to, oh boy.
Yeah, from Brady Hoke, one of arguably the worst Michigan coaches ever. Jim Harbaugh is not performing any better.
No, which is crazy because I think that Harbaugh is a great coach, and we just see year after year these sort of, it's like the Oklahoma thing. Okay, we're playing well. We got a lot of talent. We can really move the ball. We come out. We handily beat Florida, even though they're a struggling team. But yeah, I mean, it just doesn't. They don't finish games. And the 5 turnovers is just unbelievable. I mean, that's ridiculous. That should never happen. I feel like Michigan has some of the ugliest turnovers ever. I mean, remember that punt last year? It was unbelievable.
Oh, yeah. See, that's the thing. No matter how bad Michigan State can be or Michigan can be, this game is one of those rivalries that's always crazy.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like Florida LSU. It so is. And it just... Yeah, it was a crazy one. Tough. It felt like Michigan had a season going. I don't think this crushes it, but definitely changes the landscape a little bit.
Well, I agree with you. Let's move to the Big 12. Let's talk about what happened in Norman, Oklahoma. You know how the classic song goes, Mitch. Choklahoma, where the wind goes sweeping down the plains.
Where the wind goes sweeping down the plains? That's...
the wind are caused by cyclones, right? There's my dad joke.
I was saying like where the wind goes sweeping down the plains.
Oh, the wind.
Like, just out of grasp.
You're right. You're absolutely right. Got to give it to Iowa State. I mean,
dude,
what can you say? They killed it, man. Quarterback Kyle Kempt, 343 yards through the air, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. It all comes down to quarterback play. We say it every single week, Mitch. Mm-hmm. This leaves the Big 12 in an interesting predicament. If TCU finds a way to lose, this most likely leaves that conference out of the college football playoff once again. Because there's probably going to be an undefeated team from each of the other 4 Power 5.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Pac-12, but we'll see.
TCU is going to be interesting to watch because they look good against West Virginia. That was a pretty intense game. TCU's got Kansas State, then Kansas. They play Iowa State, and then Texas. Oklahoma, Texas Tech, Baylor. So definitely a lot of room for stuff to go crazy. So I'm leaning towards what you just said, that we might not see a team represented. But hey, who knows?
Yeah, and plus
prove us wrong, Bill Snyder.
Bill Snyder, Gary Patterson. You mean? You mean? Oh yeah, you're right. You're so right. I'm sorry. Yeah, Bill.
Oh, wait.
Man, wouldn't that be a way? Are you talking about if Kansas State ends up upsetting him?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be you got to retire after that, Bill.
I just feel this like looming presence of Bill Snyder over every show we do.
He's always watching us. Well, don't let any of this stuff distract you from the fact that Texas lost to Kansas last year. All right, let's get into the SEC. Mitchell, I would like to start us off this week if you don't mind.
Do it, man. Yeah, go for it. Let's talk about it. Let's just get it out in the open.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I don't really have a lot of notes on this game. All I have written down in all caps is Clint's Woo Pig Sad Facts, sponsored by Petty Jean Meats, your official prepackaged meat product of the Arkansas Razorbacks. If you're from Arkansas, you'll get that reference. Arkansas loses to South Carolina 48-22 in Columbia, right? Mm-hmm. Here are my Woo Pig Sad Facts. South Carolina is still not very good. I know they won. Arkansas is just that bad, Mitch. The offensive line was sold as the reason for Arkansas' success, but it's currently the reason for their failure.
This is the money stat, this next one.
This next one. Oh, thank you for reading along with my notes. Austin, I'm going to get distracted. Austin Allen has been knocked down the most of any quarterback in the country since the beginning of last season. That's 2016. And it's not even close. He's been on his ass 125 times.
That is bad. That kind of goes without saying.
That's a backbreaker, is what that is. This game made me say the phrase, hey, Clay Travis makes a good point. And that last fact makes me want to vomit. Arkansas allowed 3 touchdowns on defense and 3 touchdowns on offense. So that's fun. South Carolina didn't really need to do a whole lot of offense because their defense played offense. 2 pick sixes and a scoop and score. Like it was like a 70-yard scoop and score too. It was ridiculous. Brett Bielema is 10-24 in conference play as Arkansas head coach. He has earned on average $1.5 million per SEC win. Nick Saban earns roughly $600,000 per SEC win. Let that one sink in there for a second. Arkansas is 0-16 when trailing at halftime under Brett Bielema. 0-16 when trailing at halftime. That's no offensive adjustments, no defensive adjustments at halftime. Just nothing. They just go into halftime. They got just a big buffet in the locker room. They just go and they just gorge in the buffet. No one says anything. They just cram in mashed potatoes, and then they go back out there and lay an egg. That's how they play. If Arkansas plays to the utmost of their ability for the remainder of the season, they'll go 5-7 with wins against Ole Miss, Coastal Carolina, and Missouri. That's the ceiling. That is the best they can do. They won't make a bowl game. No way. And there's a very good chance the Arkansas-Missouri game at the end of the year could be 2 teams playing for their first SEC win.
Oof, that hits home right there.
That makes me sick. Brutal. That makes me sick to think about. And then my last fact I have here says Arkansas had 48 points scored on them by, and in all caps, Will Muschamp.
Shout out. Shout out to Will, wherever you're at.
Sure. Shout out, dude. Way to go. Next week, South Carolina plays Tennessee in Neyland, and is probably going to win because, like we've talked about, Tennessee might just be as bad as Arkansas is, or worse. Maybe the bye week helped, is what I have written here. I did this last night, but probably not, obviously. I'm calling Gamecocks to win 30-14. I think they get it done.
See that. I don't think that's a bad team at all. I think, you got a good defense, you got a not that great running game, a good quarterback, and some good receivers going up against no quarterback, a pretty good defense, and a great run game. So I think I could see this being a 1-score game with Dormady, but with Guarantano, I think that's a perfect prediction.
Yeah, and that'll leave South Carolina at 6-1, am I correct? If they win next week?
Yeah.
All right, so could we see South Carolina?
No, they'll be 5-2.
Did they lose one? Okay. Or they lost 2.
They lost to
Kentucky.
Yes.
Yeah. No, that's a good record for them, honestly. I don't think anyone had.
I don't think they're bad at all, really. Oh, it was, that's right, the A&M game, and then both close games, too. I mean, they haven't gotten blown out by anybody.
Yeah, maybe my first little bit was just a little bit of salt. Can you blame me?
I get it.
Maybe they're
happens.
good. Maybe they're good.
Why we do the podcast.
You know what? I'm just a self-deprecating guy. I was just thinking it as well. Arkansas is just that bad. We lose to a mediocre team like South Carolina. Maybe they're good.
But yes, they're not bad. I definitely, we're talking about a team that's going to play in a decent bowl and has good players, just hasn't quite shown up every week.
You want me to tell you what?
And has missed more field goals than everybody except for Arkansas.
Oh,
Sorry.
Arkansas made a field goal. And it was a 48-yarder.
Woo.
Whatever, dude. Whatever. Well, you know it is bad. South Carolina's run game. We talked about that being not very good. They ran it for over 200 yards against us, Mitch.
Yeah, I for your sake, I hope it's just because they just maybe got it going just now.
I don't think so. All right. Arkansas plays Alabama next week, and they're going to get
couldn't be a worse draw.
They're going to get ceremoniously sacrificed, entrails splattered on the muddy ground, torso splayed open, blood spilled around the Alabama tribal fires at 7:15 p.m. Eastern, 6:15 p.m. Central Time on ESPN. This coming Saturday, their D-line bellowing their war cries as they wipe the turf clean with Austin Allen. Tide wins 56-10 over Arkansas.
Whoa.
56-10. And that's me being pretty liberal with my prediction there.
All right.
Good thing I'm going to a beer festival that day, Mitch. I'm going to need to be sloshed to even check the score on my phone.
Oh, that's right. That's when the big beer festival is.
Yeah.
Yeah, bright side, if it's any closer than that, you can, feel kind of good, I guess. I keep trying to console you on this, but I've been there and I get it, and it just sucks.
Yeah, it does. It just sucks. I have a long quote here that I was going to finish with.
Why not?
By Trent Wooldridge. He is a writer over at ArkansasFight.com, the SB Nation blog for Arkansas. He is an incredible author, as are all the guys that write on there. I love hearing what they have to say every week. Go check that article, that blog, all that stuff out if you're an Arkansas fan. And if you're a sports fan, check out SB Nation. Their blogs are always great.
Yeah.
Trent Wooldridge is a man after my own heart. He always writes exactly what I'm thinking. It's so weird. He says this in his article. He starts off by saying, brought to you once more this week, courtesy of Bob Marley, Tito's Vodka, and the clarity that anger provides. Real anger, I mean. The white-hot, self-fueling primal rage that accompanies a betrayal so flagrant and so obvious that it can be camouflaged only by the victim's foolish hope. It is only then, when disgust at the transgression and embarrassment from being oblivious to it for so long, synthesized into one highly refined, pinpoint-accurate laser beam of anger, that the clarity comes. That this isn't worth it. It's sad that it has to be this way for so many of us, but so be it. You said it would be different, Coach, but this is more of the same. Wait, that's not even true. It's the same, but somehow worse. We are getting worse. You, Coach, are doing worse. And he finishes off by saying, if you want to boil it down to one simple, unavoidable truth, it has to be this. The SEC, top to bottom, appears to be as bad in 2017 as it has been in a long time. This should be a season where Arkansas' stature in the conference rises. It should provide Arkansas a chance for one of those memorable 6-2 or 7-1 conference campaigns and the high-profile bowl to go with it. Instead, it appears Arkansas is looking at 2-6 best case and possibly even 0-8, unless there's some sort of miracle down the road. That is unacceptable. Barring an unforeseen turnaround, it's time to cut bait. It is time to fire Brett Bielema. The anger should make that clear, Jeff Long, our athletic director. And if you aren't angry, Mr. Long, it's time to fire you too. That gets me so fired up, man. Like, straight up, dude, Jeff Long, if you do not see what's going on, got to get rid of you too, man.
Yeah, that was chilling.
A $15.4 million buyout on a dude who's done no better than 8-5 on a season? Get out of here, man. Get out of here.
I was reading something where, they were talking about this is the first official time where we're looking at Bielema approaching complete failure, like full-on total failure, and that'll do it.
Well, I think it all goes to show that he really had no idea what he was doing at Wisconsin. That was all Barry Alvarez. All those Rose Bowl wins, all those recruiting classes, that was all Barry Alvarez, man. That was not Brett. He has no idea what he's doing.
Bring on Mike Leach.
Bring on Mike Leach, Mike Norvell. Where you at, dog? Scott Frost. Come on, boys.
Come on.
All right, let's go to the East, man. I'm done. I want to hear you talk for a while. All
right, well, let's rebound it with a thriller of a game. LSU beating Florida 17-16.
Props, by the way, on totally nailing this prediction.
We definitely talked about So many different scenarios on the last podcast. We talked about where is LSU after this Troy loss. We talked about where is Florida, kind of, very much in the mix. Yeah, man. Close one. This was the LSU, Florida, just absolute throwdown gut battle that I was hoping for, that we've seen so many times in the past. Yeah, it was crazy. What we ended up with here is, two talented secondaries going after it. It basically just became run game against run game. And just to give you a bit of an idea of the game script, which is pretty wild. So we start out the game with 3 punts. LSU gets on the board, solid 11-play, 86-yard drive with a beautiful 30-yard touchdown run by Russell Gage, who also, that dude, Geis, I know is not fully healthy right now. He showed some flashes of his usual self in this game, but he's definitely been nagged with injuries. But man, Russell Gage, did you see him leap over that guy?
I was about to ask you, was that when he totally cleared that guy?
Woo! Yeah, and the guy, Gary pointed it out on the broadcast. It wasn't even like the guy went low. Russell Gage just basically leapt over this guy fully, almost standing up. Dude is a freak athlete. Just an insane day for him. He ended up 6 carries for 52 yards and a touchdown. They got to get him the ball more often.
Yeah, way more.
Sure.
Way more.
Anyway, after that, the first half was pretty quiet. Punts, field goals. Ended up 10-3 LSU at the half. Pretty close game. Second half started super hot. With an LSU 9-play, 75-yard drive with a 47-yard pass from Danny Etling to DJ Clark. Shout out to Danny Etling, who played his heart out in this game. Frank's definitely put it all on the line as well. This was just a crazy good game. Florida answered back with another long drive. LaMichael P. Ryan and Felipe Franks, just shouldering the load and running it. We ended up with the Gators would score again after an LSU punt, after Malik Davis and Kadarius Toney broke off some big runs. It just seems like this Florida defense, I've said it week after week, they are not hurting with the running back suspension. I mean, Malik Davis, LaMichael P. Ryan, and Kadarius Toney just make big plays every single week. This team, I know I'll kind of get into it in a minute, but I don't know. I'm going to be very interested to cover this UGA Florida game, even after this loss. Anyway, so Florida scores. You think, all right, we're going to tie it up. And then Pinheiro, the guy who has saved the team consistently this year, misses the extra point.
That's it's like driving an hour to the nicest restaurant in the city, sitting in traffic, getting in a fight with your girlfriend on the way over there. Y'all finally get in there, you sit down, you get your food. It's a wonderful meal. You connect emotionally. It's such a beautiful time. You go to pay and you're left your freaking wallet at home.
Oh, seriously.
That's the same feeling you get when you drive all the way down, you score, and then they just miss the extra point.
Just unbelievable.
It's what are you doing, man?
After that, it was just LSU playing contained, basically. It's just punts and then a turnover on downs. After a really nice stop, at LSU, we saw the speed come back a little bit. We saw guys playing their hearts out. Just to run through some stats, these teams were basically identical. No turnovers in this game. Etling goes 9 for 16 for 125 yards and a touchdown, matched by Franks, who went 10 for 16 and 108 yards. Again, you had Russell Gage with the solid day. You had Darius Geis, who dude needs to get healthy. I mean, Florida's defense is good, but feeding him 17 times for 50 yards and averaging 2.9 a carry something's not right if your stud is doing that. Again, as a team, Florida rushed for 216 yards on 48 carries. You saw Florida rush as a team 38 times for 194, just super close. Again, Malik Davis and LaMichael P. Ryan just killing it. 14 for 90 and 6.4 per carry for Malik. LaMichael came through with 12 for 70, averaging almost 6 yards a carry, has 2 touchdowns. It's just every drive, Toney and Malik Davis just bust these big runs, and then P. Ryan just comes in and cleans it up. I mean, it looks a lot like Georgia's running game, honestly. Just a lot of threats, a lot of different runners. We had some big plays in this game. Like I said, the DJ Clark 47-yard catch. I mean, but it was really close. LSU coming through with 5 sacks, 5 tackles for loss. That loomed large. in this game. Florida come through with 2 sacks, 7 tackles for loss, man. I mean, it was just even. It was an even game. It was a good game. One of my favorites I've seen this year. That extra point, man, it's just that's haunting.
Well, I think
that's an SEC championship shot.
I think
to
it
me,
just
gone.
Yeah. Well, I think it just goes to show that you don't need Les Miles, the Mad Hatter, to have a crazy game. It's like
Definitely.
It's like, Baton Rouge is real swampy, Gainesville's real swampy. They're both kind of, got the gritty kind of weird thing going on. There's like a voodoo group in Baton Rouge,
Southern
and a voodoo group in Gainesville that are actually the ones pulling all the strings during the game. Like they're all like constantly hexing each other. Yeah, it's great.
Hexes can outlast.
It's great. This is one of the best rivalries in the conference, and it doesn't disappoint again.
No doubt. I'd just like to point out that so this drops Florida out of the top 25 as LSU remains unranked. I would like to point out that LSU has now won 6 of the past 8 in this series after Florida won last year. So that to me was kind of shocking, just given how. I mean, I know we had some turnover, obviously, after the Urban Meyer days, and you had the Will Muschamp days, and now you have the McElwain days. To me, like, I'm going to be interested to see where Florida ends up this season, but as of right now, it's a total mystery to me. They stay at home next week to host an Aggies team that came off a tough loss, but honestly, if I'm seeing a team that just lost by a score to Alabama, I'm looking at them as being on fire right now. With both these teams being a bit beaten up after some tough games, I expect A&M to win this one on the road, 20-13. That's what I'm calling. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I agree with you. Like deep down, that A&M's going to pull this one off. I have my own thoughts on it for later on in the show. I'm a little bit less certain than you are. I'm kind of like, I don't really know. But yeah, I think you're probably right.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm shelving my Georgia bias. Obviously, for Georgia fans, it would be great to see Florida take another SEC loss. But in my honest opinion, A&M just is looking more and more every week to me like a complete team. And I think this Florida team is a lot of things. There's a lot of playmakers, but if there's one thing they're not, it's a complete team.
Well, especially after last week, A&M looks a lot better.
Yeah, absolutely. The past 2 weeks for them have been great. As for LSU, they head home to host the number 10 ranked Auburn Tigers next week. Talk about a draw.
Yeah, Woo! Right. Good Lord.
That could not have come at a more important time for both these teams. Auburn, I'm sure you'll get into how they just rolled over Ole Miss this week, and they seem to be the only competitor in the West. I'm saying the Tigers should win this one 30-20, but I expect LSU to put up a heck of a fight.
Did you see today? I saw that Les Miles is actually going to be back in Baton Rouge for this game.
I did see that. Yeah. I was just reading that.
They're going to honor that 2007 championship team. I guess he's going to be on the field, and kind of do that whole thing. That's awesome. Good for him.
Totally. After the weirdness of him getting let go, I'm happy to see that.
Which, let me just say, to be let go by, you're a program that you've coached for so long, and to be let go in that sort of fashion after dropping that game to Auburn
mid-season,
it takes a lot of gumption about you to come back and accept that honor, to be like,
no doubt,
I'm going to come back and show that I'm still an LSU man. That's awesome for him. I'm super proud.
Absolutely. I'm really hoping this sort of closes the book on what was a kind of somewhat ugly exit.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It should be some good closure, especially for fans that were kind of maybe trying to cling on to Les a little bit. It should be some closure.
No kidding. I mean, it was definitely a Mark Richt sort of scenario where you have your guy, and then all of a sudden he's not your guy anymore, and it's like, whoa, how do I adjust to this? I also think that was planned, having him come during this Auburn game. So yeah, look for that to be one of the games of the week next week.
Yeah, hopefully he leaves before the game starts. All right. Well, speaking of Auburn. I'm going to talk about him for a while.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear your thoughts on this one.
To literally no one's surprise, the Ole Miss Rebels, the Black Bears. Oh wait, hold on. Sorry, the Land Sharks get crushed in Jordan-Hare by Auburn. They lose 44-23 to number 12 at the time, Auburn. The Rebels are the only team in the West giving Arkansas a run for last place. It could be that game in Oxford that determines the worst team in the West, in my opinion.
I can see it.
The difference, of course, is that everyone expects this from Ole Miss, right? They're kind of having a down year. They got an interim head coach, no postseason. Here's a little bit of interesting news regarding this game. Ole Miss posted a public job opening for the head coach position on the same day they got blown out by Auburn. And they just top a laundry list of SEC teams fined for a new coach in 2018.
Yeah, we're gonna see some serious turnover.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm hopefully they can bring in some better coaches this go around. Obviously, these haven't panned out. Hopefully they really
stop letting the good ones go. I mean,
and they need to just take their time and hire a smart hire. Like, take your time.
Even if you got to take a year. I mean, start now. Start early.
Yeah, start right now. Yeah, if you're the AD at any of these schools, Tennessee, Arkansas, Ole Miss, Missouri. Possibly. Yeah. Take your time, man. Find a guy who wants to find a guy who is willing to put in the work. But as far as the game goes, it's true to form of 2017 Ole Miss. No run game, even worse defense, just 83 yards on the ground for Ole Miss. The Ole Miss defense gave up 516 total yards of offense to Auburn, which was totally expected. Auburn's offense is on fire right now.
Yeah, like they're legit.
Like they're combusting currently. Shea Patterson threw for 346 yards and a couple of touchdowns. He also avoided turnovers. So, I mean, the Rebels are still able to move the ball through the air. They can do it, but they just couldn't score when it mattered. It's red zone that's killing them. For Auburn, the wayward son, Carry On, ran for a whopping... Did you get that or not? Do I need to repeat it? The wayward son, Carry On. Please acknowledge my joke.
I apologize. I was
just kidding.
I was honestly stifling a laugh because I feel like I giggle on here all the time.
Give me attention. Anyways, Carry On Johnson ran for a whopping 204 yards, all on his own, and scored 3 times. One was a 48-yard burner, all the way to the house. He is continuing to kill it. If this game was an 80s coming-of-age movie, and the Ole Miss offense was the big-rimmed glasses nerd, then Jared Stidham was the slick-haired, chisel-jawed bully that shoved him in the trash can. 235 yards in the air, averaging over 11 yards completion, scored twice. He's balling out like he balled out in the Big 12. The second half of this game started out 31-3 Auburn, so make no mistake, it was never close. Auburn plays LSU in Death Valley next week like you talked about. Both teams are coming off wins, but Auburn looks so much more dominant, Mitch. It's not even funny.
This offense it's like they lit the fuse. I mean, I remember, we had those years of just felt anemic down there, and now it's just like like you said, they're combusting. It's like crazy.
Do you remember, Mitch, when I joked to how predictable their offense was?
Yeah, that's right. I forgot about that.
Do you remember how they turned the ball over 5 times against Mercer?
Yes, I do. And we were like, oh, boy.
Those days are gone.
You okay?
Those days are well behind us.
Firmly in the rear view.
In the rear view.
Any team, I'm going to say again, no matter who it is, any team playing this Auburn team should be worried about it.
Oh, yeah. Yes, they should. Which is... everybody in the West that hasn't already played them should be. I mean, even Alabama really needs to.
Georgia's got to play them.
Oh yeah, Georgia plays them. Mm-hmm. Dude, Georgia's got to really watch out in that one.
It's going to be. I think there might be like some unexplainable fires that break out on the field because it's just going to be like lightning striking everywhere with these two teams. How hot they are right now.
Do you know if that game is in Sanford or is that in Jordan-Hare?
Let me take a look.
I think it's in Jordan-Hare, right? Was it in Sanford last year?
I think so, because, if memory serves me correct, but I'm just going to double check here. It looks to me like it's at Auburn. So, it's at Jordan-Hare.
Well, there you go. I mean, the from.com is going to have to step up.
Yeah, or maybe we'll see some more miracle at Jordan-Hare magic. Honestly, who knows?
Maybe so. Gus has got it in him. But back to the Auburn LSU game. We talked about it already. I think it'll be a game. Given what we saw LSU play, they played a lot more complete last week against Florida. But I just they're not going to do it, man. I think Auburn wins 35-21. I know you had them blowing them out by a lot more. I think LSU I think they move the ball a little bit. I think they make it a little bit of a game, especially like in the first half. But I think the wheels come off second half, and Auburn ends up just running the table on them.
Yeah, and that's kind of my prediction was sort of this is what I think Auburn should be able to do. But yeah, man, I mean, like we talked about last week, Troy was a wake-up call, and LSU is awake. So we'll see what they turn into. I definitely think they're one of those teams that's capable of building on success week in, week out if they finally find a rhythm. But I agree with you. I think Auburn is going to be in the driver's seat.
Yeah, they finally #woke. Ole Miss gets to go home and lick their wounds this week.
I just want to say, Ole Miss gets to go home.
Finally, those poor guys.
Yeah.
They get to go home finally after being at literal war the past 2 weeks. They get to go home and lick their wounds. Vanderbilt comes to town this week.
That's a very interesting game to me. That's one of the games that next week's gonna be fire, man.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
Yeah.
We saw Vandy beat Ole Miss last year in Nashville, and I think they'll get it done again in Oxford. I do. Kyle Shermer hasn't been lights out or anything like that, but he's shown he can throw some completions when shown a mildly aggressive defense, and this Ole Miss defense is piss poor at best. Honestly, let's be honest. I think Kyle Shermer's going to find the holes. I think he's going to get those quick slants, maybe like a few like out routes. He should be fine in this game. Vanderbilt pass.
Yeah, I agree.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I agree.
Vanderbilt's pass defense is going to have to work pretty hard, though. Ole Miss isn't amazing on offense, but they can make big plays happen through the air. We've seen it already.
Definitely.
I think Vanderbilt wins an ugly game, 28-20.
All right. I think it's going to be one of those. You're right. It's going to be one of those mistake games.
Yeah,
who's going to cough it up more?
Yep, I think we'll see a lot of turnovers.
And I just don't see Kyle Shermer throwing picks in this game. But that's just me. So we will see who hangs on to the ball.
All right, man. Let's switch it back over to the other division.
All right. Speaking of Vanderbilt, I am going to talk about the number 5. Well, we'll get into where they're ranked later, but at this point, the number 5 Georgia Bulldogs rolling 45-14 over the unranked Vanderbilt Commodores in Nashville. I was at the game, managed to grab some tickets, kind of last minute. I mean, this game speaks for itself. It was everything that I had forecast that Georgia needed to do in this game. I feel like they didn't absolutely demoralize them like Alabama did, but definitely were in control the whole game. I'd like to remind everybody that Vandy won this game last year, 17-16 in Athens. Pretty different game this time around, but to me is shocking.
You think there was hard feelings?
Oh yeah, I think there was hard feelings. I think there was a new quarterback.
Oh yeah, that's a glaring difference.
To the fact that Jacob Eason came in and on his first drop back, he got absolutely demolished because he held on the ball for like 20 seconds and fumbled the ball. So yeah, I think you got a different guy under center. I think we might have had a similar game, but anyway, very different one this time around. The Bulldogs put up an unreal 423 rushing yards against Vandy. That's 549 total yards to Vandy's 236 on the day. Georgia was able to play a lot out of the shotgun, which is not super common, but is definitely, I think, a place where Fromm feels comfortable. They were up-tempo, a lot of zone reads. Chubb and Michelle just went wild again. Fromm was able to run, able to use that play-action pass as well. It was a lot of big runs just right at the middle, just a lot of just same with Alabama, just grinding it, just running right through you all day. In terms of game action, Georgia went up early. They scored on the first drive after a Vandy punt, which was capped off by a 33-yard run by Nick Chubb, who ended up going 16 for 138 on the day, averaging almost 9 yards a carry with 2 touchdowns and that 33 long, with Sony Michel coming up right next to him with 12 carries for 150, averaging 12.5 yards a carry.
Oh, my God. That is criminal.
I mean, it's just brutal, man.
That is I mean, we knew going into this season that the run game was going to be improved. Sam Pittman's a great O-line coach. You'll have great recruits on O-line. We know Michelle and Chubb can get it done. But, that is insane.
Dude is for real, yeah, seriously. Pittman was just the best addition I think they could have made. There were some concerns in our preview about Georgia's O-line, and they just show up. Meanwhile, on the other side, run-wise, Ralph Webb going 12 for 47, averaging almost 4 yards a carry, but they were behind the whole game, and he had a touchdown. Whole team, as a team, averaging 2.9 on the ground on 22 carries for 64 yards. Again, this was just another game where they tried to just get Sherman to bridge the gap, but it just couldn't happen. After Georgia scored, they just never lost the lead. They put up 2 more scores. DeAndre Swift had a nice 5-yard TD catch, and Chubb had another run. Vandy did score on a 1-yard run from Ralph Webb, as I mentioned, right before the half. But after that, opening drive of the third quarter, Fromm launches like a 47-yard pass to Terry Godwin. Just beautiful touch right in the middle of the end zone.
Yeah, and we talked about the run. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
I just want to say that brings up a good point. We talked about the run game just a second ago, but what is gashing these defenses are those huge pass plays. It's not like the little dink and dunk, 3 yards there, 4 yards there, little slant, little in route kind of passes. It's these long, 50-plus yard, bombs that they're throwing.
Oh, yeah, they just dial it up right when the defense is sleeping a little bit. And that's 47 yards on that touchdown pass. That's almost half of Fromm's 102 yards on the day.
Well, they've had
crazy.
They've had at least a couple of those every game.
Yeah, the
passes.
flea flicker. They had this one. They had I think they took some strikes against Notre Dame, but that was different game script. Yeah, man. Still, that's crazy to me that half of Fromm's yards were on that throw. He went 7 for 11, 102 yards and 2 touchdowns. Went 4 for 36 on the ground. And then against Kyle Shermer, going 17 for 31, throwing 3 times as many passes for just 172 yards, which really speaks to how well Georgia was able to wrap up in this game. We saw, a lot of completions on Vandy's part. 17, granted, but regardless, just not a lot of yards after catch for these guys. Georgia's secondary is just wrapping up. They're making good hits. They're cleaning up tackles. Anyway, Georgia would go on to just keep scoring another, 50-yard Sony Michel touchdown, which he was just running people over. It was insane. And then the backups came in a little bit. You had if Kirby Smart, I'm confident at this point that it's just all coach speak, but if he had any doubt in his mind whether he should be playing Eason or Jake Fromm, as I'd mentioned, Eason coming in, first drop back, refusing to let go of the ball, getting slammed and fumbling the ball, just closes the door, in my opinion. That's just unacceptable. You could tell Fromm is dialed in. This is his offense, and this team has nobody. They got to keep what they're doing, honestly. The only person that, to me, that's going to beat them at this point is either Auburn, Alabama, or themselves.
Yeah.
And
let's just quell, like you said, let's just quell that whole narrative of maybe Eason's coming back. That would be the worst.
Shut it down.
That would be the worst thing that could possibly happen to Georgia right now. Short of complete Tennessee-esque meltdown, that's the worst thing that could happen.
Yeah, seriously. But yeah, another typical receiving day for Georgia. Terry Godwin leading the team, 2 for 70 and a TD. No other receiver had more than 2 receptions or more than 20 yards, with 6 receivers catching passes. Vandy also had 6, but 4 with 3 or more receptions. They really, they know how to spread the ball around. We've talked about it. Again, just Doors just have a rough. It's been a rough patch, and they're heading down to Oxford next week, which is not usually a breath of fresh air, but I believe it will be. I agree with you that I think Vandy gets it done in this one. In Oxford, we're talking about a Vandy team that's 3-3 and 0-3 in the SEC against an Ole Miss Rebels team that's 2-3 and 0-2 in conference play. And I think this is going to be a great game. Honestly, I don't really know. I know you talked about it, but I don't really know what your mindset is going into this game. I know for Ole Miss, it's all right, here we go. Here's another Saturday. But for Vandy, it's hey, let's get bowl eligible. Let's play like the team that we know we still are. We've just played a lot of really rough teams. So, yeah, I'm calling Vandy in this one 31-27 is my prediction. Georgia is heading back to Athens to host the 1-4, 0-3 in conference play Missouri Tigers.
You know, I don't know what your like official like professional thoughts are on this game, but let me just say in a very unprofessional way, if you live in Columbia, Missouri, and you have any inkling to like watch this game, just don't. do not. Barring some literal divine intervention in this game, dude, I think Missouri's just going to get shellacked.
Yeah, I mean, my take on it isn't exactly professional either. All I had to say was this should be a rout if things are going to keep up for Georgia. My only advice to Georgia as a team in any way, as if anybody hears it, is just keep playing tough but stay silent. Just for goodness sake, resist the hype. Don't think about it. I'm very glad they didn't leapfrog Penn State to be number 3 in this week's rankings. I'm calling Georgia 40-21 here, but seriously, boys, like this Missouri team can put up points. Like I said, I'm calling it 40-21. I expect them to be launching it, and Georgia needs to keep playing clean, keep playing, keep a low profile, just keep it up, keep proving everybody wrong, and just do your thing.
What do you mean? What do you mean nobody's listening, man? You know Kirby listens to Ask the Bottle.
He's dialed in every week. Like, who am I going to start from?
Yeah, dude, he's a huge fan. He's based all his coaching decisions on what we've had to say.
He leaves us like 12 reviews every week. Tweets at us.
Please leave us reviews. Please tweet at us. Kirby Smart does it. I agree with you. You're absolutely right about that. The most important thing is just to stay in the headspace, right? I mean, we've seen sleeper games happen before, but I wouldn't have anything to worry about if I were you, man. I think Georgia just rolls again. This Missouri team is nothing really special right now.
They won one game. I mean,
yeah,
pretty.
Yeah, I think they get it done, no problem.
All right, we'll move it back to the West.
All right. My last West game is Alabama.
It's crazy. No non-conference.
No non-conference.
Cool.
We're finally in the meat of it. This is what I like. I'm all about the non. Yeah. Alabama and Texas A&M played in Kyle Field. Number 1 Alabama beats Texas A&M 27-19.
What a game, though.
This game was close.
Yeah.
Ish.
It's a good one.
Ish, right?
Close enough.
Yeah, Alabama really kind of kicked it off quick, but I mean A&M ended up kind of coming back in it. They were down just 8 points, like at the very end of the game. So it's not like they couldn't have done anything. They give Alabama their first real scare of the season, which should do less to scare them and more to scare everybody else because they kind of always had this game in hand, like it was a scare, quote unquote. But Alabama was really always in control. This
is a scare Florida game.
Yeah, exactly. There's no doubt Nick Saban is one of the best coaches of all time. Let me just say that. But sometimes he says some things, Mitch, they're just flat out dumb. And I'm sorry, he might be the best coach ever, but I say dumb stuff on this show every week.
Oh, yeah.
People say dumb things.
We both do.
Yeah. No doubt one of the dumb things he said being the namesake of this podcast. Saban compared positive media coverage of the team to rat poison that just distracts his players. Like, okay, dude, shut up. Like, really? Come on, man. Yeah, I don't think it's getting to your players' heads at all, man. I think you got it locked in. I think just like let the positive press happen. Just try to stay out of it if you want to stay out of it. But I don't think there's any harm in it. At least that's my opinion. I don't think those players are distracted by that at all.
I think that's something that you address with your players, and you don't talk to the media about. I just don't think it does him any good to come out and say that to the media.
I mean, it was no doubt just a stab at the media. You know, he hates media.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But that to me, him saying that is almost contrary to the philosophy in general. Like, if just don't say anything, just keep it coach speak, whatever. I mean, Because I agree that, like that's my biggest fear with Georgia is don't listen to anybody, good, bad, whatever. Just do your thing. And but I agree with you. To come out and say that is just kind of like, all right, man.
Yeah, it's just like, okay, dude. Yeah, all right.
It's not, not going to kill him.
Yeah, exactly. Well, after A&M chewed up 5 minutes of clock and came away with the field goal, Damian Harris scored a 75-yard running touchdown on Alabama's first play of the game.
He is so good.
So there you go. Absolutely. He is very good, which, I mean, he's an Alabama running back. In the fourth quarter.
But, to just the... Yeah, sorry.
No.
Him and Scarborough are just... It's not even funny. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, Derrick Henry, T.J. Yeldon.
Yeah.
It goes all
Mark
the way
Ingram.
back. Mark Ingram.
Eddie Lacy.
Trent Richardson.
Oh, yeah.
So,
shout out, he's playing in the CFL, Canadian football. Shout out to Trent.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's cool. No, that sounded so. It is cool. I actually like Canadian football. Don't everyone come at me. All right. In the fourth quarter, down 27-10, A&M blocks a punt into the end zone for a safety. A special teams mistake against Alabama. What did I say? If you're gonna
when
attack,
does that happen?
If you're gonna attack Alabama, it's in the special teams. I said it last week. I'll say it for every week I live for the rest of my life. If you're gonna attack Alabama, it's in the special teams. That's where they let up. It's been that way every year.
No doubt.
They lose the onside kick and ultimately lose the game 27-19. Alabama actually turned the ball over in this game, other than that safety, which is new and super fun for them. But in the end, A&M couldn't get it going quick enough and got down by too many points too early. They couldn't catch up with Alabama. I saw some people on Reddit saying that this was Bama's worst second-half performance of the year. Which
I agree with that completely.
Yeah, sure. But man, wouldn't you love for that to be the biggest problem your team's faced all year?
Yeah, that's a really good point.
How sobering is it that a heart-pounding ending for Alabama's being up by only 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter?
Seriously, that's really funny. Yeah, I mean, and we're talking about a second half where they scored 10 points themselves. So who's even worried about it? But yeah, I think if anything, this just shows that Alabama's not perfect. When it comes down to it, they are people, just like the rest of us. But just a little bit better at everything.
Just a little bit better than you. As far as next week goes, Alabama's going to send Arkansas into the void between dimensions of good and evil. Which is exactly where that sorry excuse for a football team belongs. Like I said, Tide wins 56-10. No problem. We already talked about this game, which is going to be really good. Alabama plays Florida in Gainesville next week. And
you mean A&M?
I'm sorry, A&M. You're right. I'm sorry. A&M plays Florida in Gainesville.
Can't wait.
Good God Almighty, Mitch! Did you see the uniforms Florida's going to wear?
I did. It's like real gator skin.
Those are the most god awful uniforms I've ever seen. At least since the Oregon. You remember when Oregon dressed up like the literal duck last year?
Oh yeah.
That's dude.
Don't take on the exact look of your mascot. Just don't.
This isn't even their mascot. They're looking like a literal alligator.
That's what I'm saying.
Like a dirty, swampy
they look like
lizard.
their mascot. They're taking on the form. A bunch of little gators out there.
Oh, dude, straight up. There's no way those players want to wear those.
No.
Can you imagine the reveal? McElwain's look at these, and they're like, oh.
Oh no.
Cool.
Jim, come on. Maybe it'll camouflage them a little bit. Probably not.
Oh, maybe. But anyways, back to the actual game. I would imagine that Florida's going to win. But the way that A&M played on both sides of the ball against Alabama last week, they could blow out Florida. Let me say it this way. You think A&M's got the win straight up. Either Florida wins a super close game, or Texas A&M completely destroys Florida. In my opinion.
That's a really good way to put it. I completely agree with that. I think this Florida team is either going to keep hanging on, or eventually they're just going to let go and just fall.
Just because I love to disagree with you so much on these games, I'm taking Florida very tentatively, 31-28.
All right, I agree that I definitely think there's going to be some points, and we'll see what happens.
All right, man. Well, let's finish up the East.
All right, this is another one that kind of played out just like we thought it would. I had forecast a shootout between Missouri and Kentucky, and ooh boy, did we get one. Kentucky ends up getting the win, 40-34 in Lexington. Yeah. This game was crazy.
This game was secretly really good. Like, I don't think anybody watched it, but it was secretly really good.
It really was. Everybody, slept on it, and it was just crazy. So let's just, I feel like the game script just speaks for itself. So it starts, Drew Lock sack fumble at the hands of Josh Allen on the first Mizzou drive. Kentucky capitalizes with a 14-yard touchdown to my boy Blake Bone from Steven Johnson.
Blake Bone!
Blake Bone! Steven Johnson ended up going 22 for 36 for 2 touchdowns, a pick. And how many yards did that guy put up? Let's take a look. I having a little difficulty with my thing here. But almost 300 yards passing for Steven Johnson in this game against 355 and 3 TDs for Drew Lock. Anyway, another couple of field goals puts Kentucky up 13-0. So you're thinking, all right, Kentucky has been the better team this year. Obviously, the record shows it. They're going to kind of pull away here. Not so fast after a 50-yard touchdown pass from Drew Lock to Jamon Moore, which just started all the fireworks. I mean, on the ensuing drive, you got Benny Snell finally getting it going, a 70-yard touchdown rush. Missouri answers just before halftime on a one-play, 58-yard drive featuring a 58-yard touchdown pass from Drew Lock to Emmanuel Hall. Hall would come back and be a feature in this game in the second half as well.
That's the Missouri passing attack I thought we were going to see week to week.
That's like the most extreme version of hey, guess what? We can launch it whenever we want.
That's what I expected to see out of them this season.
Right, and we certainly got it with Drew Lock going, like I said, 22 for 42, 355 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rushing touchdown with the lost fumble. I had mentioned Benny Snell getting it going. He went 20 for 117, averaged 6 yards a carry in this game. Most of it was on that 71-yard TD, but still he had 2 on the day. Man, it just kept going. So if we're going second half, started out insane. This is the drive sequence. It went field goal by Missouri, Kentucky, Steven Johnson throws a pick, Damaria Crockett, Mizzou running back, fumbles. Then 9-play, 66-yard UK drive with a 6-yard Benny Snell touchdown that I'd mentioned. Then Missouri, 48-yard pass to Emmanuel Hall again, and then Locke cleans it up with a 1-yard rushing touchdown. So now it's 27-24. Kentucky's up by 3 all of a sudden. Insane game in no time whatsoever. And so Missouri adds another field goal, and the game's tied. It's 27-27. Then, all of a sudden, Steven Johnson comes out with a huge bomb, throws a 64-yard touchdown pass to Garrett Johnson. And then, immediately after that, Locke scores on a 75-yard touchdown to Jonathan Johnson. So it's Johnson to Johnson, Locke to Johnson. Just crazy. It's tied at 34.
Johnson and Johnson, a family company.
Exactly. And then Kentucky just decided, hey, you know what? We're just going to win this game. And makes 2 clutch field goals, a 53-yarder. Austin McGinnis getting some redemption after that Florida long miss. Missouri had a 45-yard field goal blocked, and Kentucky holds on with another field goal to win an absolute barn burner, 40-36. Man, I mean, this was just stat city, like I talked about.
Let me ask you real quick, just seeing as you just kind of gave us a rundown at the end of the game. Did you see the whole controversy with the officials and the swatting the ball? Did you see any of that stuff?
Yeah, when Missouri had 15 seconds left, and
they were trying to score.
Moore caught the ball, and then the Kentucky player knocked it out of his hands.
Yeah. And then the officials were real sluggish, I'll just put the ball on the spot now.
Yeah, but that's the crazy thing is Jamon Moore's running back to hand the ball to the ref, as you do in that situation, and the Kentucky player, I'm literally watching it right now, and then just boop, Kentucky player just comes and just knocks it out of his hands.
See, that's when, as the official, when you're in that situation, dude, blow the whistle, throw the flag, put some more time on the game clock, and give Missouri dude, if you're going to make a bonehead play like that, you deserve to have Missouri have a second chance to beat you.
Yeah, I mean that's another play. They would have had another play, and we saw. And if it wasn't a game where it was just long bomb after long bomb, I'd be like, well, what do you know? Who knows? But I mean, it seemed like Locke couldn't really do anything wrong with those deep balls, and I think if they had a little more time, could have easily scored.
That's a great point, Mitch. I mean, if they had another play, dude, easily could have scored. The way that game was going.
I mean, I wouldn't have been surprised, but
then it would have gone into overtime. Then it would have been like a 7 overtime game.
Right, yeah, probably would still be going on. But anyway, maybe a little karma for Kentucky after that rough Florida loss, which week in, week out, I'm starting to think more and more that, honestly, they should have won that game. They could have. I think it's just on them. They just should have been blocking the receivers. But I digress. Anyway, in this game, everybody got it going. Like I talked about Snell, we had Ish Witter on the ground on the Missouri side going 17 for 139 with 8.2 yards a carry. Just crazy. Just comparing stats just because it's fun in this game. Kentucky on the day had 39 carries for 188 yards. Missouri coming in 33 carries for 213 yards. And these aren't these are passing teams for the most part, and it's just insanity. Receiving-wise, we had Kentucky 300 yards. Garrett Johnson leading the team with 7 catches for 111. It was just crazy. Emmanuel Hall, like I talked about from Missouri, 4 receptions for 129 yards. That's 32 yards a catch.
That's insane.
It's crazy. We had all these players. We had Emmanuel Hall with the 58 long touchdown. We had Jonathan Johnson. His long was 75. Jamon Moore, his long was a touchdown for 50. I mean, just come on. Pretty clean defensively in this game. I mean, it's not, you could tell by the score. But Kentucky did have the 2 fumble recoveries, which made a huge difference. And Kentucky just edges this one out. They're 5-1. They've lost one conference game to Florida, who's still ahead of them in the standings. They're at a very respectable 5-1. Shoulda, woulda, coulda all day long. But if they'd beaten Florida, I mean, they'd be 6-0, and Georgia would be 6-0, and that would be huge.
That would be alternate reality huge.
Right? Yeah, that's like insanity. But this is a good team. Lucky for them, they get the bye next week while Florida has to go play A&M. So they could very well be in second place by the end of next week. Then they go to Starkville to take on Mississippi State, which we'll be covering next week, which I think is going to be an awesome game. Missouri. 1-4, 0-3 in the SEC. We talked about it already. They're going to Athens next week. Georgia gotta stay woke. Gotta be, just keep the mindset. Whatever. I still think Missouri. We've seen it. They are capable of putting up points. Drew Lock's a good player. They're not hopeless with the run game. Offensive line's great. Defense is bad, but I think Tigers are going to go down 40-21 between the hedges next week. That game came down to the last second last year, with Georgia obviously in a very different situation. But I'm still not, and I don't think I'm ever going to reach this point as a Georgia fan, but I'm still not sold on any guaranteed wins or any, they're going to win big. I mean, who knows what's going to happen next week, but something's going to happen, and we'll see how it shakes out.
Yeah, if it's going to be a big win, it's going to be against this Missouri team, I think. And, as we say down in Arkansas, when you get to feel bad about yourself, thank God for Missouri.
But seriously, though, if this is a big if, but if Georgia's wheels just fall off, and if Kentucky just summons the strength of these wins, I mean, in a way, given a couple of Georgia losses, it's kind of like Kentucky's. I mean, they got a big stake in it in the East right now.
Yeah, Kentucky's really pulling for Missouri in this one. Yeah,
I mean, and if Florida beats Georgia or something like that, I mean, it's going to be weird. But Kentucky is this is by no means. What I'm trying to say is this is by no means Georgia's East. They're definitely the clear-cut favorite, but it's not locked up yet. We got a lot of football to play. We'll see what Kentucky can do in the coming weeks.
All right. Well, before we kind of wrap up here, I wanted to quickly get to our recurring segment, Who Took the Biggest L?
Love it.
All right, this week we offered only 2 choices. Obviously, Arkansas's embarrassing loss to South Carolina on the road, 44-28, and Florida's loss to LSU with a missed PAT. And with 87% of the votes by our listeners, thank you all so much. We love you. The Florida Gators
I agree.
are this week's winner of Who Took the Biggest L, and I agree as well.
On an extra point, backbreaker changes your path in the East. I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we said it's like you forgot your wallet at home.
Yeah.
You got all the way down there. You made it. You got it into the end zone. You just got to cap it off and tie the game.
Completely.
Well,
yeah, man.
You want to kind of give us a rundown of the top 25 where the SEC sits, and then we'll get out of here?
Definitely. That sounds good. So we got Bama firmly at number 1. We got Georgia jumping up to number 4 in the playoff talks for the moment. 5th in the coaches. We got Auburn into the top 10, number 10, 11 in the coaches, and yeah, man, this is who's left. I mean, we got, like I said, I was talking about, we got Georgia, Florida, and Kentucky are kind of the East contenders right now. We got Alabama, Auburn, and Texas A&M are sort of in the hunt in the West as of now. I did also want to just ask your opinion on, so if we're going to talk about who took the biggest L, and if we're going to keep it on the sort of the doom and gloom of over half of the SEC, I was reading this thing, Pat Ford kind of put out a ranking of his top hot seat. He ranked the 6 hottest seats in the SEC, and I just want to get your take on whether you agree with this list or not.
I'm excited now.
All right. Maybe we could have a thing called like the Raising Cane's top hot seats of the week or something like that. Maybe we'll get that chicken sponsor.
Yeah, the Hattie B's hot chicken hot seat.
There you go.
Of the week.
Oh yeah, that's
shout out
perfect.
to Hattie B's here in Nashville, Tennessee. Y'all got some good chicken.
Yeah, Hattie B's hit us up. Anyway, this list, top 6, hottest seats. We got Butch Jones at the top. We got Brett Bielema, number 2. We got A&M's Kevin Sumlin, number 3. We got Missouri's Barry Odom, number 4. We got LSU's Ed Orgeron, number 5. And finally, number 6, the least hot seat out of the group, Florida's Jim McElwain. What do you think? Do you agree with these, or you think, that's kind of, I don't know. I could switch them around, personally.
Number 1 and number 2 are without a doubt correct.
Definitely.
There's no doubt in my mind that Butch Jones is, man, he is just feeling the heat is an understatement right now. Brett Bielema, I think everyone's kind of tired of that. Kevin Sumlin at number 3, I don't agree with.
I don't either. I put him at 5 or 6.
You say, I mean, you rewind a couple of weeks, maybe. But I think from what he's shown, they beat South Carolina, they beat... or they almost beat. I'm sorry, they didn't really almost beat them, but they showed up against Alabama. They beat Arkansas in the Southwest Classic. I think what he's shown is he's developing Kellen Mond. I mean, he's not great still, but he's making him better. I think he's kind of cooled his seat down a little bit.
I agree. No, I think we've seen a more patient Kellen Mond, and I totally agree. I think a couple weeks ago, number 3, sure, the seat's pretty warm, but as of now, it's cooling off week by week, and we'll see if that continues.
Maybe Pat Ford is kind of going from the place of maybe the boosters, maybe it's just not enough for the boosters to kind of keep him, for the athletic department to keep him. Maybe they've just seen enough already and they know it's not going to work out.
They're just done. They're not smelling title hopes.
Absolutely. I agree with McElwain being at the bottom.
I do too.
I think Barry Odom could move up a little bit.
I think Odom's a hard 3 for me, and then it's then
Edo,
it gets tricky.
Yeah, because Edo, they did it this week.
Yep.
And I don't know, man. People in Louisiana, I know they were mad about Troy. Look, I would be super mad about Troy. But he's got the accent, he's got the look, he's got the speak. I don't know, man. Maybe they're cooling down on him a little bit. I don't know if I'd put him. Maybe I would. I don't know. That's a tough list. 1 and 2 are definite, but kind of from there it gets a little dicey.
I agree. I think if I'm going to rank it, I'd definitely go Butch, Brett, Barry, number 3. And then I'm going to go with, I think I would keep Sumlin in 4, and then I'd go Edo and then Jim probably last. Just because it's been, I don't know. The Florida is to me the most confusing because you got the suspensions, you got the off the field stuff, and who really knows what that team is. But anyway, I definitely agree that all 6 of those seats are warming up.
Well, very cool. I thanks for bringing that up, man. That's cool. I like that.
Nice.
Awesome. Well, you got any kind of closing thoughts on this week?
Not particularly. It was a really interesting week. I'm again, like we talked about, I'm just so glad that we had all conference play this week. We got a lot of games next week. I did want to mention Mississippi State coming off bye to play BYU this week. We just hadn't mentioned them. And then we got Tennessee. I'm saying Mississippi State ought to just be fine against BYU, who's 1-5 on the year.
Yeah, I think Mississippi State's going to come on stronger after this bye week. I think they're going to get some things figured out defensively. I think Todd Grantham's going to kind of impose his will on that defense and get like some real disciplined play going on. I think Nick Fitzgerald's going to be arrested. I think they ought to have no problem.
Yeah, I totally agree. Good and healthy, and then Tennessee's coming off bye, which we've talked about, and we're going to have a lot to say about what happens against South Carolina this week, I'm sure. But yeah, good slate of games. Just really all of them are going to be super entertaining, barring maybe that Mississippi State BYU one. But I'm looking forward to it. It's been another great week. Again, I say it every week. I'm just so glad we are in the thick of it, and I'm loving it.
We are. Write to us at askthebottlecast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter @bottlecast. Tweet at us.
We have an Instagram now.
We have an Instagram at I just forgot what our Instagram name is.
You can just look for Ask the Bottle.
It's Ask the Bottle. It's on there. You'll see it. Listen to how have we just now mentioned that Instagram? We've had it for like 3 weeks.
I know, right?
Listen and subscribe on iTunes and SoundCloud. Please leave us a rating, leave us a review, all you lovely people out there. I am Clint Childers. Across from me is Mitch Davis, the Georgia Peach.
Yes, sir. Yeah. Thank you all for hanging out with us, and we'll look forward to seeing you next week.
Absolutely. See y'all next week.